Come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. It's land. Yeah, but isn't this the unplugged version? I don't know. I think it's the unplugged version. All right, Paulie, let's go. That's better. Gotta go.
And then there was one more episode left. Part 5 of Kenobi has just dropped. I have seen it. I did a quick take on it earlier this morning. Mr. Tom Konkle has seen it. And we have a special time. That's why we're going so early. So we appreciate any and all of you who are here with us. Share the link. Let people know that we're here. We'll say hello to you in a minute. But right now, let's bring in the man. Trouble is his business. Writer, director, actor, Tom Konkle.
I love that intro. That's fantastic.
You like it? Good
How
morning,
are you, buddy?
kind sir? I'm
Good
great.
morning to you.
I have cold coffee, so my better half is helping me out here. Thank you, sweetheart.
Nice. Yeah, I kind of I was up late to see the show, and so I got excited about it after I saw it, and I couldn't sleep because I was thinking about it. So I didn't. I blame Kenobi for being in a fog, but it was worth it, don't you think?
It's a good blame. It's a good blame this morning. I would feel really good if I had been putting in my time on this series. Well, we have. So if you guys have been putting your time in this series, I think you should be feeling really good about yourself and a lot of rewards. Let's do two things. One, let's see if we can get a little light on your face. I don't know if that's possible. And then let's start saying hello to people. I mean, you know, you're handsome in the dark, but yes, look at you, handsome man. Love it. Perfect.
It's earlier, so the sun is kind of obliterating everything. Yeah, there we go.
No, that's perfect. Sanders here. Now I can't watch Midnight's Edge. Paulie, need to plan this better. Well, we did plan it really good because we were planning to have Tom Konkle on. And Tom can only make it this morning because he has other important responsibilities. So we appreciate it. No disrespect to Midnight's Edge, but here we are. Retro Nerd Girl. Hey.
Hello.
How you doing?
Good to see everybody here. Good to see you.
Yeah, morning all. Much better episode this week. All right.
I would have to agree.
E. Clay Thomason, hail. Hola.
Hail.
And before we ask Tom his initial feelings on this part, we have a poll in the chat. How would you rate part 5 of Kenobi? And we have good, we have excellent, good, okay, horrible. I see we have some horribles, and we have some excellence, and we have some good votes. So great. Thank you for voting. Keep voting and vote often, as the Democratic Party says. Oh, did I say that?
Vote often.
That wasn't me.
Like a third world. Yeah, that's great. Vote often.
Well, you know that's actually from what's that Chris Cooper movie where he's running for office? Is it Silver Springs or something like that?
Oh yes, you're right. Mm-hmm. You're right.
Yeah, it's
satire. Yeah, political satire. Yeah. Vote often.
Vote often. Eric Jimenez. What's up, Eric? Ghost Rider. Best since the first. Dang, now I have to change my vote. Change your vote, brother. Okay, so before we show any images of the show, any spoilers, let's go non-spoilers.
Yes.
Episode part 5. What are your initial thoughts?
It was a fantastic episode. It delivered on a lot of the promise that the show has been showing. I think it finally found its sort of core, again, I think you'll agree, is that it was the relationship between Anakin and Obi-Wan all along that we wanted to see pay off. We need to see them together interacting as characters. We needed to see some flashbacks where we see the core problem in this, which is we've left Obi-Wan a broken man, and his only redemption confronting his fears, which of course is Vader, and Vader needed to emerge as the villain that we know that he is and pay off Reva. So I thought overall this was everything that I thought the promise of the series could have. I think you're muted.
I would have to agree with you.
That's the silent movie. That's the Charlie Chaplin version. Yeah.
This is what happens when
you could act it out. You could act out the whole scene, you know.
I agree with you, and I would further say that the writing is exceptional in its very intimate moments.
Yes. And you know why?
And tell me.
Andrew Staunton wrote the last 2 episodes. He's the guy who wrote a lot of Pixar movies. He has a great facility with dialogue. And notice he was the writer on this episode and the last episode. So I agree with you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that when we get into spoilers on a acting analysis, you'll really get to see where these actors shine in so many moments of pain and suffering. And I'm thinking of at least three different actors in this episode. Really
agree.
Their acting was just sensational and
beautiful.
Four with Anakin. I'm not even thinking of Hayden, and it's easy to do that. There were some great moments, man.
I agree.
I think with this episode, it really shows that even with some plot hole, like with some things to point at, unlike episode part 4, these were very forgiving for me.
Yeah, there was meat there this time. I'm, you know how I was last episode. I was angry because I was disappointed, and this one, I loved it. And you're right. Even in its moments where it might have a what we call a whole plot hole or whatever like that, it still had its story to tell, and it was about the intimacy. Like I always say, it's about faces, and when we were in on those faces, that was real. Yeah,
and it really. Things were answered, fleshed out, and then a little heartbreak. Fantastic, man.
And the action,
great action.
Was
there was one great action. I did have a little problem, but it's always like the stormtroopers, man.
I've given up on the stormtroopers. Yeah,
right.
But as far as the flow of the action, I felt like this had the pacing, and I think it had some nice surprises. Don't you?
Totally. Yes.
Yeah.
And it was probably its most Star Wars episode of the series. And I want to talk to you later as a filmmaker about this announcement to have them all play in a movie theater. I would love to talk to you about that later on.
Absolutely.
Because there is that announcement. 16 people live in the chat. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We have some new people, coming in. Not new to the slant, but Stephanie's here. She's driving and listening. Be safe.
Hello, Stephanie.
Yes. Retro Nerd Girl says the last 2 episodes was on a whole other level storytelling.
Yeah.
We finally got a story payoff for Reva.
Yeah, agreed. And it was handled beautifully, I thought. The blocking of it, the way they set it up, the way it got very intimate that way. I was like, okay, that I felt the creative hand at work there made it very effective.
And thank you so much, Sander, for Tom's link to his Twitter.
Oh, thank you, Sander.
Yeah, he's one of our wrenches as well as a member. But probably the most controversial character, you could say, is Reva. Out in the Star Wars fan world, and we'll get to her. Orville Nation is here. ¿Qué pasó,
Hey,
PJ? ¿Cómo estás, señor? He gives us $2 to kick it off.
Thank you.
Should have started with this tone. Well, that's an interesting note. That's an interesting note.
Yeah, it definitely found its tone the most strongly, I think, in this one. Yeah. From production standpoint,
that's a great note, PJ, and we're gonna get more into that storytelling as a whole. Who else do we have here? Like I said, Junior Lopez, Ghost Rider, JP is here. Eric Jimenez, muchísimas gracias a toda la gente in the chat, all our international people, anyone that's just hanging with us. We appreciate you, man. We have a writer, director, and actor, Tom Konkle, with us. And I had an earlier stream as well. It was like a last minute super chat I got. So I want to thank that person and PJ for the super chat. Let's give him a little fun.
Thank you, Retro, for following me. I appreciate it.
Oh, cool. I'll wake you up.
I think I've been to that carnival.
Sober?
I don't remember. Yeah. That's funny.
All right. It's time for spoilers.
Okay. Spoiler
time. Yeah. Obviously, what everyone's been waiting for is Anakin and Obi-Wan to have some duels, man, or have some interactions. Right. We got it.
But a duel with purpose too, Paulie. How about this? It's told as a fable. It's told as a lesson that Vader still hasn't learned. The duel, the best movies, a sword fight or a duel, is the narrative playing out symbolically. This duel is telling us what Anakin has not learned as a lesson, and that same lesson is what pays off at the end of the show. Fantastic use of a duel. A duel tells a story. Do you agree?
Definitely. The ones where because it's not just about the physical action, but what they're speaking on, how they're talking to each other. Yes, the best fights do that. The best fights do
and
that.
He's overly aggressive. Yeah. I thought they did a terrific job.
And so what we're getting is that Obi-Wan is reminiscing on that fight to see what Vader's strategy is in the present day at this time of this episode.
Correct. It's an inspiration. Yeah.
And
the way that he plays out the fight is the narrative turn in the present that they are. And it shows that because he has such a deep understanding of him like a brother, that closeness or that knowing of his technique can be turned against him, because clearly the episodes establish what a powerful villain Vader is.
Well, what's interesting is that they did not de-age Hayden. Right. And what I got was, which is, I have no problem with. I don't
too, because you can't win. If you de-aged him, people have been like, "Oh, you should have showed him how he was, and it's not his real performance." So if you did that, you're in trouble. And if you leave it this way, people say, "Well, he doesn't look the same." It's like, I think they just rolled the dice and went, "You know what? People want to see him as he is now, and they'll complain if they modify him."
Well, the reason why for me, there is that. The damned if you do, damned if you don't. I can't have a conversation with that. What I can talk about, Tom, is that because it's Hayden as an adult man, still acting as a child with his aggression. Yes. I got this ominous, like this, just more of a hulking Anakin bullying Kenobi in this fight, and then Kenobi teaching as he's figuring it out. It was wonderful, man. It was
like
wonderful.
You do martial arts. It's teaching a lesson while the physicality is happening, and the way that he finally uses force against himself, isn't it? It's exactly the way a true teacher will have that student learn through the physicality of what they're doing. It becomes a philosophical fight.
And I think everyone here in the chat is agreeing that they love this Padawan scene. I mean, and it's intercut throughout the whole episode. Why did they do that? Why can't they just give us the whole thing at the beginning?
Well, because, as I say, this fight it's like a parable. It's like a fable. This fight is going to be the map or the blueprint as to why Kenobi goes, we can't take him on. We can't take him on as a force. We will lose. If we meet brute force with brute force, we must use another technique. This is showing us something in his mind. It's showing the internal workings of him. This is the way to defeat him, is by his arrogance, by his overconfidence, by his aggression. We will find a way to turn it on him. And so by parceling out the lesson, it follows the narrative. And I think it has a cumulative effect. Instead of presenting the entire lesson and then seeing it just play out, for the rest of the show, it actually gives us pieces as if you're in Obi-Wan's mind and he's getting pieces of it and putting together the plan. We, the audience, are sharing that plan in the moment, in my opinion.
Can we give praise to Hayden Christensen, to the creative and production team, Deborah Chow, in getting these two gentlemen back? And this is what this is what the diehards wanted, and it was completely satisfying.
Yes. And it really instructed me on one thing. One of the hardest things to play as an actor is a somewhat unlikable character, but also a petulant character, a character who keeps making mistakes and doing things. Hayden had a tremendously difficult job when he was younger to bring a character like that to the screen, because you're not supposed to like him. He's supposed to be kind of, a petulant character, a character where it's very hard to find an entry point because he's on a collision course with falling and being a bad character. Now that I see him mature again and he gets to revisit it and he's seeing some of the love from the fandom, it was like, you know what, you had a man's job bringing a character like that, a tragic character. To see him back in that, I really enjoyed it. And he did subtle little things with his face. He did subtle little arrogant moves when he was fighting him or when he was confronting the younglings, that I was like, you know what? He has matured as an actor as well. But he had a very difficult job as an actor.
So let's say one of 4 intimate moments for 4 different actors. When the director trusts their actor is when they give them a close-up. Yes,
like that. Yeah.
Like at least
and they did that beautifully with Ewan McGregor. Yeah.
So
like here
as a director, you have done that with other people where you're trusting them so much that you're like, hold on, I want to pull in on your face. Why do people what is that? Because there's nothing more powerful than the human face. There are so many subtleties that you can impose on the audience by just looking at a glance, at a gesture. When I'm directing an actor, I always tell them, think loudly. And by going for the close-up, you're allowing them into the thoughts. You're bringing the audience into the mind of the character, but it's also the most intimate moment. What is the first thing we look at when we're talking with someone we're doing? We look at their face. It's an intimate moment, and the thinking process is never better in cinema when you do this. There's a moment in this show that I thought was brilliant. All the calamities happening around him, all the people trying to get onto the transport and everything, and she goes into Ewan McGregor's face, and you just see him looking around like, what, this is way over me. But the real Kenobi starts emerging. He's like, I have a plan. I'm not going to give up. I'm going to save these people. And it all plays out. He doesn't say, I've got a plan, I'm going to do it. It plays out on his face, in his eyes. Face.
The best acting is eyes, don't you think?
Absolutely. And he's got amazing eyes, talking about Ewan.
Yeah.
And I think also because of the age, of Ewan naturally aging.
Yeah. He's got a wisdom and a world weary. Yeah.
Right, because he's also carrying Sir Alec Guinness. He's carrying what he did in the movies, and he's got a life experience. Both him and Hayden now are more, just have more life experience, and it just it like you said, just think loud. I mean, they're bringing
sensational. They've lived with this character 20 years. Yeah, and to Ewan's credit, the voice. He gets Alec Guinness's tonality. I mean, he's really Scottish, but he gets the British Alec Guinness voice, but he makes it his own, and it has so many little textures and layers in it. So seeing him finally with Hayden playing Anakin, seeing the two of them together, that was a treat, because you know what? It's the thing they didn't do in the prequels, and they did it right in this, is they put the two in the same room and we learned something about them.
So obviously the number one, would you agree the best thing about this episode is this flashback, or I mean, there's a lot of good stuff to take away.
Honestly, the flashback's amazing and great, but it's not the best thing. The best thing is how the flashback resonates in the present time of the story. That what happens with the Reva character, how they defeat Vader, but also why Vader is so powerful, and using that is probably Vader is in his current form, he was the most powerful thing there, because I didn't know where it was going.
Gotcha.
And that's the best villain, where I was like, wow, is he gonna off this, or what's going on? It's like he seemed unstoppable, and that's exactly what he seems like in this flashback. When they're fighting, he seems unstoppable.
Right. So the story is that Vader is now after Obi-Wan, and they go to Jabim, and they stay on Jabim. And the story is, let's give these people enough time to get off this planet and not get killed.
Yeah. To stall them.
And stall them. That's really like, what happens in the episode, as far as like the big over, right? The big story.
Correct.
So we get that. This was a great shot.
That was hypnotic, wasn't it? It was a hypnotic shot, and I love that they have it going around him while he's looking, and then it moves around. It just kind of tracks around to the side, and you get this tunnel, almost like he's emerging. The light at the end of the tunnel. It's his destiny that he's going to. I was like, that was a perfect use of that. Jumping to hyperspace effect. That's a hypnotic shot. It comes around, and it's just creepy.
So she's rewarded for her work and given a
for appearing to do everything right. Yeah, yeah.
She got the Girl Scout badge.
She got the Girl Scout badge. It paid off that the Grand Inquisitor hasn't been seen. She's going to ascend to that, and she's bringing her enemies close, and that's great.
So, as we move along, we get that they don't have a lot of time to fix stuff and to get stuff ready. That's always the case. You have 1 hour.
Right. And the little probe thing goes in and subverts the mechanism that seals them in. So there's a little subplot where you have to find what happened, discover that this probe has caused these problems. So it gives Leia a little something to do. And she has technical proficiency because she's the son of Anakin, and it was established that Anakin was a mechanical genius. So all of that kind of played out.
Yeah. Did that work for you, giving her that little business?
Absolutely, because we established in the other films, it's like Anakin, you can fix anything. He's got much proficiency with it. So her doing that works fine for me, and it gave her something to do, but it didn't make her part of the conflict. She's not picking up a blaster. She's not doing anything like that. I think it's exactly what she needed to do in this, to ratchet up that ticking clock. We talk about the ticking clock when you're telling a story. Get that thing open in time. Will she find it? Will that little droid thing attack her? It's waiting. They keep showing it waiting. I was like, oh wow, okay. So I think it was gonna like
zap her or something. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So Obi-Wan goes, and he has this hologram thing, whatever, from Bail Organa, basically saying, if you don't succeed, I will look after Luke. I will go to Tatooine. And this message comes at the end again in a broken message that Reva discovers. What do you think the storytelling plot point there is?
Well, what is really setting up is, again, it's pointing all things back to Tatooine and to Luke. This is also a little ticking bomb. This message that was sent in private to Kenobi establishes that Bail's only going to wait so long if he doesn't hear from him. And he's going to go back to Luke. He's bringing things back to Luke and back to Tatooine. You notice Kenobi doesn't answer him, so he does not hear from Kenobi. So the implication is that Bail will probably head to Tatooine. This message also pays off as a kind of chart or a map to where someone needs to go at the end of the episode in order to get possibly more revenge.
Soul Assassin, and hello there, Soul. Jabim was a major battle in the Clone Wars. Lots of fighting, and the Republic had to pull out and leave the planet behind. Not until the Civil War did the people trust Jedi again. So I take it, Soul, you're grabbing this from the EU, or is that in the Clone Wars? Just help us out a little bit. But
possibly it was in the Clone Wars show. I'm not sure. I haven't seen all of that, but yeah.
Well, what I did get was that the Jedi had to leave behind who they were. Lightsabers, their cloaks, and Obi-Wan, saw them. I thought that was a great little nod.
Yeah. To me, that was the tag. By them being that, it endangered the people they loved or the people they were around. By being it, you had to deny who you were. It would be like the samurai returning the sword, cutting their hair so that they're not seen as a samurai. So it's not painting a target on people.
I just saw Last Samurai the other night.
Yes. Good movie.
Fantastic.
Yeah, fantastic.
And and then later on he gives his stuff to Homeboy here, but that's later on in the storyline. But he comes back. Yeah.
Which is great. And he finds out what it's really like to be a hero and a Jedi, and I like his character. His character has an intelligence to him. I like it.
I would like to see if he shows up in the last episode. That'd be interesting.
Yeah, I agree.
So, okay, all right. Let's save the Reva scene for a second. There's a moment with Tala.
Yeah, sad, but she did a beautiful job.
So she has a scene here where she talks about why she's going against the Empire, because the things they made her do. So
the choices that she made,
So I'm getting that. Say that. I'm sorry.
I'm saying again, we see tragedy with nobility. There's a tragedy to their story, but they redeem themselves through action rather than words.
And I'm getting that the purpose is that you're again seeing Obi-Wan becoming that leader. Like it's like, he's growing. He's
becoming General Kenobi again.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
Now he devises a plan to stall, and one of the tactics to stall is Reva and the stormtroopers show up, and they have a scene, and it's through a thick door, but really they might as well be talking to each other. What did you take away from this scene?
From this scene, I love the way it was staged. From a directing or filmmaking point of view, it did two things. It shows that they're worlds apart. There's the world that's outside that has the stormtroopers, that's the life she lived. There's his world where he's saving these people that aren't armed, and he's a Jedi. They're worlds apart, and yet, as you say, it's almost as if they're leaning into each other and having the most intimate conversation. And I love that they were... Again, Andrew Staunton, who was working on the script, had her be ahead of him this time, where she's like, I hope you're not here just to stall me, hoping to get the thing. Like, she knew exactly what he was doing.
That's the first thing she says. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I was like, okay, now you're ahead of the action, which is good. But what this accomplished was that intimate moment, and you'll notice they went just to faces. This is where Reva and the actress who's playing Reva paid off all of that revenge. You just see all of it ripple through her, where she's like, that's not what I'm doing. And then it's like, well, yeah, it is what I'm doing, and I'm going to succeed. And you see his calmness come over her, but he realizes, yeah, you were there. This is how you were there. And then it pays off so beautifully, because now we know exactly what her end game is, exactly what her weakness is. And then she bursts through that, breaks the barrier between them. But having that barrier forced intimacy. And that's good storytelling.
I agree. And again, it goes back to the trust of those actors. And I feel almost vindicated that Moses Ingram is indeed a very good actor.
Yes,
I thought with when you have good dialogue and good action in your dialogue, that's when you shine. And she
absolutely, you can't save it no matter how good an actor you are. If it's not there, if it's not on the page, it's not on the stage.
So that's the second or third, really the Obi-Wan had many intimate moments. This is her great intimate moment. And then we get also he figured out what her deal was.
Yeah.
He was a youngling.
Yeah. And that realization happening too shaded it in such a way, like, what are you doing? And I see a pressure point now. There's some dimension to this. If you were there, that's how you know, which means you might be doing this for a different reason, and I love those 3 layers all paying off. And we were there with him, kind of piecing it together, going, yep, I knew it was going there. That's what she is. What does that mean? If she was there, is there some chance she's mad at Vader as well? We saw all that in his face.
Right. I was just happy also too that because this was the very first scene we got in part 1, that this is coming back, and I'm just like, this is good storytelling.
It paid off. It paid off, and it showed us more. Love that scene where Anakin leans in from the cloak, and it's almost this dreamlike light on his face, and you just see her face looking up, and that's the moment everything in her life changed. That literally was a character-defining moment.
That little kid did a great job too.
Yeah. Just the terror and the betrayal. She's like, what's the line? I thought he was there to help us.
Yeah. And then where were you, Obi-Wan? How come you didn't come and help us?
You didn't come and help us, and I thought he was there to help us. So my whole world shattered. My world view is shattered. So that's where you come up with a twisted person who's like, okay, I'm going to become an inquisitor. I'm going to mete out all my anger at the people who didn't help me, and then I'm going to kill the person who I thought was going to help me.
Really fast, 26 votes in. How would you rate part 5 of Kenobi? 35 excellent, 38 good, 4% okay, 23 horrible.
So it's quite a spread, huh? Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think good to excellent, it's over 70%.
Yeah.
That, between good and excellent. And
yeah, it's pretty good.
Then a couple people just didn't not liking it. But we do have we have a super chat and a membership mention. I'm going to get to them because it's about you and your projects. But let's get through this.
I'll be happy to talk about that later.
Yeah. Moses' performance this week convinced about my comment last week. They changed Reva mid-production and didn't give Moses time to adapt. Charlie. Well, Charlie, what I heard that happened is that they actually filmed a couple of different endings, and what they're changing is the trajectory of the character after the fact. This was filmed last year, so the mid-production. No, they just filmed everything, and then I think they're changing her trajectory, which is why you're hearing rumors about her own potential series. Up until now, I wouldn't care for it. Now I'm mildly interested in what that could be. Kinda. How about that for
That's very parsed. Yeah, I like that. Yeah. Kinda, maybe.
Kinda.
That's fun. Yeah. Well,
So
she,
Reva is
again, she had the difficult job the way Hayden had playing Anakin, is that you're playing a petulant character, a headstrong character, a character who's kind of like, you're like, God, kind of an ass, or kind of, annoying. I think I could tell that she really dug her teeth into the part more now with this shading, but also the script was a little tighter around that idea. We were kind of waiting. It was a long fuse, and this finally lit the dynamite, and now that I see where it's going, it's the danger of reviewing something in pieces and not seeing the big picture. Now that I see where it's going, she wasn't even supposed to be a very good Inquisitor. She's basically deep cover in there.
And Viper is chiming in on a few comments. He's not ready to give the thumbs up just yet. She just had her own series.
She had a lot of screen time. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yep.
She was one of the main characters.
So as a writer, Tom, people they just want Anakin and Obi-Wan, right? Like that's what they wanted. They didn't want Leia, Luke. They want And why you give me Reva? Why do you got to insert this? This new character that's seemingly out of place. And people are just calling it the Reva show. What do you think?
It's the problem. It's the problem with anything that is building on something that came before. As a writer, you have to find what you call entry points, new entry points into the story. And with I call them fixed stars. When you're navigating, there are certain fixed stars that ship can go on. With a fixed star like Leia, her arc can only be so wide because we know what happened to her. We know her rather well. She's a character we've lived with for 45 years. So any new shading has to meet with the approval of the audience, but it also can't go too far off brand, if you know what I mean. You can't make some radical revelation that wrecks everything. So what do you do as a writer who wants to create something new? You have to use a new entry point. You have to have a different character that we don't have expectations of, we don't know the destiny of, and the arc and the agency in the story needs to be inevitable, but surprising in some way. And the only way to do that is to shade the legacy characters and to have them do what they do best. But you've got to have some new characters if you want anything new to happen. You can't just tell a story with no agency or arc to it because you know where it started and you know where it ended. By inserting a new character, it gives it that little burst of energy.
Now, would an example of that be like, so they're just calling it the Reva show? I would disagree. So an example of that too is, all the Grand Inquisitors, this one coming back. Is that an example of that? Like just, kind of like balanced storytelling?
Yes. Well, here's the thing. We all wondered, like, why did the Grand Inquisitor disappear and we just don't talk about it? Well, it turns out it was rather coolly, it was a trap. It was a double blind trap where we're asking the same question. Her weakness was that she never asked a question like, the Grand Inquisitor is gone, he disappeared, we don't hear anything more about it. Well, that was the thing that Vader was holding in reserve to roll out and go, I knew all along that you were doing this. And not only that, he's not dead and you are found out. So you have to have that story evolve with new characters. Everything we see has an injection of new characters. The original trilogy brought in new characters as we went along. Lando and all the different characters that you would run into. You have to have that because if you say, Return of the Jedi, now it's the Akbar show. Look, there's General Akbar talking and fighting. It should only be Han Solo. Well, it's going to get old pretty fast.
So Viper, that's our best discussion that we can say, but some people are just not going to buy it, and that's all right.
That's right. That's a good point, Troy, right there.
Yeah, I understand what Tom is saying about why we need Reva, because we all know the other characters, but it highlights the problem with the prequels. The story's already told.
That is true. That is absolutely the hamstring. My hardest writing assignment, my hardest thing I could ever do as a director is go. Can you imagine? It's like, Tom, do a prequel to Trouble Is My Business, and I'm thinking, we already know what happens to everybody in the story. We know how they end up. I can't have any big revelations, so it's a real tricky order to do anything that happens between something or before something.
So why even do it? Yeah, why even do it, right? Well, it's Disney. They want to,
Yeah, and people are hungry to see the shading. It's okay to shade it, but you can't complain that they're new characters, because the new characters are the only thing that could keep it surprising.
Retro Nerd Girl, Reva is the direct consequence of the Jedi not protecting the younglings first and foremost. It's a good.
That is true.
A good one. That's a good.
That's
one.
a great point.
Yeah. Let's show that image that you love so well.
Yeah. Just the betrayal, and you have these powerful little beings, and they could so easily have their world shattered.
But you're right about that glow.
A nightmare image. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. That's her surrogate family.
That's her. Is that her?
Yeah.
Getting cut down?
She took some kind of a hit. Yeah.
She took a hit.
Remember, she fell and pretended to be dead.
Right.
Which is so, I mean, you think about these are kids, small children.
Unfortunately, so that is a big scene, very successful scene. I think my only problem with the episode was this whole battle setup.
What was your problem with it?
I would just figure tactically it's someone's gonna get slaughtered real quickly, and that didn't. Somehow all those troopers could not kill all those people. I would have thought, like, I don't know. It just took me out for a second.
I would have had, because it is a known place, it is a known safe place. I would have had some built-in fortifications. I would have had some larger weaponry as part of the design of the place. Not this huge military base, but I would have had that they had set up maybe a bigger gun, or they had set up some fortifications, or at least traps, to slow down someone, because this is not the first time this has obviously happened. So I was surprised that there was nothing in place, because even in World War II, if you had the underground where you were moving people through, occupied France, you had fortifications, you had people armed, you had stockades. So I would have, as a production design thing or director, I would have had the place at least fortified, maybe not to the point where you're like, oh yeah, they can definitely defeat them, but have some bigger guns, have some booby traps set up, something that would have thinned the herd of stormtroopers unexpectedly, but still be overrun by them at some point.
FYI, Disney was concerned about the younglings in the temple scenes when it coincided with Uvalde.
Oh yeah, of course.
It's a horrible coincidence, and
I remember feeling weird. Yeah, I felt it too, because
I felt it this
resonates
morning when I saw
in the real world. Yeah, and I mean, the story has resonance. It's certainly not portraying it in any romanticized way. It makes you feel it more, because those kids are scarred, and that happens in the real world too. So this art, sometimes echoes life. This has true meaning. This is, we gotta think about what we're doing, and what our society's doing with kids, just like this. It's like you're creating monster and nightmares, and it had resonance, and it's all art that's good is reflecting the real world.
But the hope that we're seeing here is Obi-Wan standing his ground and fighting.
Yes. The one against the many. Yeah, he's one against the many, and his specialness is what allows him to take on something as overwhelming as this. He doesn't give up. He doesn't leave.
And unfortunately, heartache in a great death scene with
yes,
with Tala. and
Yeah,
her
she played
droid.
it beautifully.
Oh,
And I love the droid's life just kind of ebbing out, but acting as her shield. I thought that was beautiful. That was really very poetic and very nice.
look at
Yeah.
that shot, man.
Yeah.
Deborah Chow
Yeah.
was killing it.
She
And
definitely
he's trying
got
to
it.
get to her too, but there's like kind of too many of these.
Yeah, they're swarming like ants on him, and he's apart from her. But the most mechanical machine man of everyone does the most human and humane thing by providing a shield for her as long as he can. I mean, that was kind of beautiful.
Totally. I mean, there's a lot of greatness in this episode, and there it is.
This is what it was all about. Yeah. And she was great in it. I love that scene, and the way the last thing she says, all of that was beautifully done.
Yeah, man. And she says, "May the force be with you." I was just like, damn.
Yeah. Boom. Yeah.
Great character.
And the ultimate sacrifice is what this story has always been about, and she does it.
And what is that light? Is that the light of the droid's eyes?
Yes, it's illuminating him, looking into her face. His dying moment as a machine, he's looking into her and providing her safety. I just think that's beautiful.
Damn.
Yeah. They handled that really well.
The staging.
Yeah. That's what I was saying about the action, the pacing and the staging and the action. This is the kind of thing where you go, yep, I feel the design. I feel the flow of it. You know, fighting has to have a flow and emotion. It has to have emotional content. And I understood the geography where everyone was. And it worked really well.
Yep. And she knows she's dying, and she's got a little bomb or whatever.
Yep.
She's like, get out.
The best last thing I can do is basically buy you more time. And they're like, retreat. You know, Reva's like, run, go back. And that thing goes off.
And
thermal detonator.
So there it is. There it is.
Yeah. That's what we were talking about. Thinking loudly inside of his head, and we really good actor, really trusting him. And to me, that's the most elegant solution to something where I felt like right in that moment, I was right with him. I was in his head, and it was a great moment. And that's when he became Obi-Wan completely.
I absolutely agree. Over 71% feel this is a good to excellent episode. I'm glad you guys enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. They took out the babe. Yeah, man. She's a beautiful lady.
It stinks. We're supposed to say it stinks. Yeah.
Yeah. The scene was great. Sucks we lost the character, but great scene.
Yeah, agreed, Charlie.
Yeah. So, and another Anakin scene.
Yes, which again is moving us forward with the fable of how Obi-Wan's going to fight the nature of Anakin. And the nature of Anakin has become fully magnified in Vader. And it's going to be the only way you could overcome such overwhelming force is through cleverness and thinking and using force against itself. So this duel is playing out what is going on in the tactics of Obi-Wan's mind.
Dengar Renegade, thanks for being here. Fine episode, bad show. We'll hold on to the thought. We'll get to that later on as we talk about this whole
Hello, Dengar.
show. Nuanced Observer. It's a good episode. I don't know if it makes the show good though. Okay, good. Okay, so we move along, and this is to me very reminiscent of Luke giving himself up to Vader.
Yes.
And he's got his black robe back on.
Her. Yeah, absolutely.
Interesting too. There's 2 points where she kneeled earlier to Vader, and now he's kneeling to her.
Yeah, it's that power struggle.
Well, what I got was that both of them are playing their strategy. She was playing Vader. He's He's playing it to her.
They're both they're both sleeping, letting the other person think they're in power so that they can strike, which is like animals do that. They lay in wait, or they play dead, play possum, and then that's when you strike.
And again, we're getting the strategy of aggression and offense. God, Hayden did a fantastic job.
Yeah, he really did. And I'm so glad to see him be able to revisit the character. He's working with a different director. It makes me wish Andrew Staunton had written the entire series, because these last 2 episodes, he's written this one and the next one that's coming up, had a nuance and a facility with the dialogue, and it really let them shine. And again, this is the internal workings of Vader played out in the flashback with Hayden. So Hayden is acting out what's going on in Vader's mind, which is, I'm going to beat you. You're beaten. I've taken your stuff away. By brute force, I will run over you like a freight train. And that's exactly what Vader's doing in the present. And I thought, wow, what a great echo. It's like a great samurai film. You see the training of it, and you see the flaws in the character played out in another storyline that it's intercut with. That's just classic.
Right, and Kenobi's were just kind of remembering his Padawan, like how he, and that it's really right now Darth is the same with him. Maybe Darth for the last 10 years has been brutal all over the universe, but when it comes to Kenobi, he's just over aggressive. He's just
the same. Yeah, he has something to prove. Yeah,
it's very personal.
Very personal. Well, it's brothers and with something to prove, and there's emotion.
So Leia figures that out and saves her little droid, which is a great little moment.
It's a nice little moment.
Yep. They all get on the
transport. And that's springing the plan.
Little hug, get onto your transport, and here is where I think a lot of people were waiting for this moment as well.
Yeah, charging down there, and he's like, "I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna finish you off." And he's not thinking; he's acting on emotion. And very powerful character. Yeah, it's like, nope.
And it's not even 2 hands. It's not, it's
It's mirror of Yoda bringing the X-Wing down with that sort of calm thing. He's doing it hyper-focused with anger. He doesn't even notice his surroundings. He's so focused on it because that's pure hate and anger and flowing through him to stop something that big.
Yeah, man.
He just crushes it.
Well, what's with the frame of the shot? So he's here in the far bottom left corner. There's the ship trying to get out. It would seem to me that this big, powerful ship has got the one up, but that's not the case.
It's not the case. Well, a good cinematographer, good director uses the whole frame. And usually your frame is balanced in the way that you read. You read from left to right. So the heavier object, the more powerful object is often on the left-hand side because that's what your eye scans first. You'll notice they have a beautiful sort of hole framing the ship, which echoes the fact the ship is trapped. It's actually literally circled by a boundary around it. So Vader anchoring it, it gives equal weight. It's a perfect diagonal from one frame, from one side of the frame to the other. So that framing showing the distance, that also shows scale. You see this one against the huge, and yet he feels like he has the gravity, he has the weight around him. The use of light and shadow in that is also really telling. He is in the darkness on the left. He is in the heavy lower part of the frame. They are in the light. The ship is framed against light, and they are on the right side, which your eye is carrying out of the frame. It's trying to escape. So it's a beautiful painterly composition of that says everything you need to say. If you showed me that still and asked me what was going on, I'm like, oh, that dark guy down there in the corner who's small is holding this thing back from flying out of the frame. I mean, that's exactly the psychological effect you want from framing.
Well, I thought what was interesting was what you said, that the circle around the ship is the trap, right? This ring around him. And yet visually. it is at the same time their light out of the tunnel. It's also freedom.
Yeah, it's also freedom, and they can't get to it.
Yeah.
And he's pulled in by that, and he's so hyper focused on that he doesn't think about anything else. He's like, okay, he's finally, there's Kenobi.
Yeah, because it's Kenobi.
Yeah. He can sense Kenobi. And he just blows the doors off.
So he blows the doors open, but another ship gets behind it, and
Yep. He was so focused on hate that he didn't see his surroundings. He didn't even consider there was another place.
Wow.
And they make their escape, which is exactly what he did in the duel, where he took the lightsaber away from him after the saber had been removed, was taken away. It was like a perfect echo. And then they got away too fast for him to even be able to do anything.
We got Rogue Disney here, Junior Lopez, Charlie,
hello,
Soul Assassin, Stephanie Janishek, Smuggler's Cantina, Sander, thank you so much. PJ Orville Nation for $5. Your feelings, guys, on the fact that they used 4 episodes to subvert expectations, too manipulative of the fans?
That's a very deep question. Aren't all stories manipulative in a certain way? If we don't, not necessarily, we don't want to destroy the character. And I don't think we did destroy the character. If you mean by subverting expectations, I think this is a different subversion than, say, Last Jedi, because Last Jedi, we didn't earn the moments that led from Luke. The last time we saw him was the hero who won. The next time we see him, he's a broken man. He gave up on it. Obi-Wan, we earned it because Obi-Wan lost. Remember, at the end of Return of the Jedi, he goes, we lost. And he goes into hiding. He is the natural progression. I didn't feel like it didn't meet my expectation. If Obi-Wan had leapt in and gone, I'm Obi-Wan Kenobi, the Jedi Knight in the first episode, I've been like, what happened between the fact that he gave up, went into hiding at Tatooine and lost, to then? That would have been a subversion of expectation. I expected him to be broken, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, that's the only way you could tell a new story if you're going to have to tell a new story, right? So you go from Revenge of the Sith all the way to New Hope. If there's a story to tell, it's far more interesting that he's disconnected himself to so much of who he once was that he's broken and he's regular, and then destiny calls on him again.
Yeah.
And so it was, I mean, I don't know, PJ, I really liked episode 1. I really liked episode 3. I did not like 2 or 4 that much. But I love this episode.
Yeah.
Right. So what I'm thinking is, how are they going to wrap this 6 episodic? And then the fact that they're announcing, hey, we want to show it to you guys on a big screen as a whole, that piques my interest.
It might play better that way, to be honest. It might actually play better as one thing.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if is that Deborah Chow's vision? She's the only director on this.
Yeah.
They when she came on, they rewrote a lot of the scripts.
Yeah,
I mean,
they did. They completely rewrote it, and I wonder if you're right. They had a singular vision.
Rogue Disney. I mean, you would know. I mean, Disney's a whole cash grab. I mean, we're not arguing that. I mean, that's just that's
the
a
point of
company being a company. And this is,
if they don't have cash, there's no bucks, no Buck Rogers. You're not going to be able to make Star Wars without making cash. But I think when you say
Orville Nation says he should not be this broken.
Interesting.
I mean,
I don't know. I don't know what your vision of how broken he should have been. And you might be right. I mean, I'm not saying that I'm right about anything. It's just my opinion. but the degree to which he's broken is the choice of the person telling the story. I would counter with you, how broken should he be?
Well, again, we can go back and forth with this. If it doesn't work for you, then there's really nothing I could. This is a story they're giving us, and and whether you like it or not, like whether you're enjoying it or not, that's your opinion. That's fine. I think the reaction is because of what they did to Luke Skywalker, because of what they did to Han Solo.
Yeah.
The last one that they could mess around with was Obi-Wan, and that's what
right.
I think that's
worried about. Yeah, you're right. It was the way not to do this story. We've already seen in some of the prequel stuff. I mean, not in the prequel, but in the sequel stuff. Yes, I don't think that Luke's arc was handled very well, and I didn't understand his starting point in those. In this, I mean, I would argue you might be right. Maybe the degree to which they broke him, in your opinion, is too much, and mine maybe it's not enough or whatever. But I feel like you had to start there because that was exactly where we left him. And if everything was okay, then he becomes sort of more of a James Bond character where he's unchanging and the world sort of changes around him, but he's a constant. And I don't think that's the story they wanted to tell. They didn't want to tell a story where some people were fixed stars that way.
And Rogue Disney asks, who will sit through 5 hours of this that hasn't already watched? I will in a second. Going back to a movie theater to see Star Wars.
Yeah, I mean, haven't you guys watched Star Wars more than once? Yeah, I've watched the original trilogy hundreds of times.
Right, and I've even watched Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker in the theater. I did not enjoy myself, but I did, and so I think there will be a lot, Rogue Disney. I actually think you underestimate that because it's a different experience. Meaning to see something like this all together.
It also won't be 5 hours. It won't be 5 hours because remember the recaps, the credits, and the end credits were almost 4 to 5 minutes of the show, and the longest show has only been 30 minutes. So if you had these 5 shows and the average show length is maybe 20 minutes, 20 times 5, it's 100 minutes long.
Yeah, you think that this would probably be 2.5 hours altogether?
Yeah, at the most, because of the if you're counting credits, then they combine credits. But remember, we won't have a credit roll between each segment the way we did in this, and we don't have the minute-and-a-half recap at the beginning, and that adds up. So yeah, by the time you don't run the credits all those times, you don't run the end credits all those times, the actual meat on the episodes, maybe 20 minutes, 25 minutes, and we've only had 5. So it definitely wouldn't be 5 hours, is my point. They weren't hour-long episodes.
So they escape. We get to the scene where Reva tries to take Vader down. And to me, this is very reminiscent of Luke.
That was a great fight.
Yeah, Luke and Empire. Very pitiful.
Yes. He just, I love the little gestures, the dodging, the using. I mean, in a way, he's being very zen and centered, where he's just using her force against itself. He's toying with her. And a couple of times where he takes the blades up, and I was like, that's it. She never had a chance.
No, never had a chance.
Because she attacked him head on.
And when he calls her a youngling, we go to this image.
Yeah. Really he's messing with her psyche, and I mean, she's still a child. She's a petulant child. And you know what really works is this is the antithesis of the lesson that Kenobi learned in the duel with him that we see in the flashback, and that she goes at him mano a mano, which is full force, and there's no chance at that. You had to have a cleverness. You have to have some other out-of-the-box way of approaching it, because head-on, Vader's unstoppable. and he just toyed with her. She let her anger flow. Yeah, she lost control.
And as a story, it's a wrap up on her backstory. For what we know is, the mystery is ooh, that was great.
Yeah, it was a great move. Ugh.
She's seen him kill her again.
Yeah,
there was a strike down.
Yeah, and he's this unstoppable force rushing towards her, and all of a sudden she's a child again.
Fantastic. Okay, but and then there's the real Grand Inquisitor, takes his little badge back.
Yeah, totally condescending. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, oh, I knew all along. It's great that's how they paid it off. That's why we didn't see him at all. He was part of Vader's trap, and we were so distracted by everything else, just like Reva was, that we're like, well, I guess he's gone, or he must be dead, or they can't believe they're not bringing him back. And it's like, no, he was never gone. You were right. He's going to be around. He was. Vader knew there was something up with her the whole time.
And now they're on the transport, and he senses something disturbing. And what I think he senses is Reva realizing about Luke Skywalker. Would you agree?
Somebody just brought something up in the comments I thought was a really good point. It's really, really hard to address, but I think I can. It's someone saying he was not broken. Kenobi was not broken in the other films. I think it's who said that? Here.
You know what? I would love to address that. Let's get through this, and I'm with you. I want to.
Yeah, I have a theory on that, and I may be completely wrong and being an idiot, but I'll tell you my theory.
Yeah. So there he is, and then
boom.
Yeah.
And it's terrific where, the table's been set in a new way. We see how vulnerable that homestead looks. We know that she knows where he is. Yeah, she heard that hologram.
Why that shot of Luke sleeping like that?
Because whenever you do an aerial like that, they call that the God point of view. That's the overlooking thing. That is all destiny, all fate now focusing back down on Luke. And him being the focal point for Reva, Vader, Kenobi. He is at his most vulnerable. That is the God's eye view, if you will. Whenever you're looking down on someone, an innocent like that. Will Reva wreak revenge on him now that she knows that's where it's going? Will Vader figure it out? And there'll be some kind of confrontation that kept him away from Luke. Obi-Wan needs to get back to him. And it puts Luke back in the story. I think that shot makes him vulnerable.
Very vulnerable. I mean, the whole homestead.
Yeah, it's like a Western homestead, and then you see this kid sleeping, innocent, and fate is dropping down from the stars on him. It's literally a camera symbolically saying, all this up in the cosmos, the galaxy far away, that's all coming back down on your head.
Well, there you have it. There's episode part 5.
Well done. Well done.
Yeah. Very well done. Let's answer. Let's give PJ some props here for another $5.
Oh yeah.
Shameless plug for Seth and crew. Tonight's episode of the Orville will be a wild ride.
Terrific. Check it out, people.
Check it out.
I have not. Is it good?
I have not seen an episode of the Orville, and I've told PJ this, and. I keep hearing like it's the Orville Nation is the best Star Trek we've gotten in years.
Yeah.
I keep hearing
I'd be willing to give it a look. Yeah.
Yeah. I should do a sleepy stream. Why is that? My God. PJ and I'm holding on Troy and PJ's other super chat because we're asking about Tom's career and we're going to get to that. But terrific. Let's thank you again, man. Let's take a quick little break with some gritos.
Noise. Hey, do a mariachi one. Oh my god.
For a moment now, I just looked away and I looked up and I thought you were back live going, I'm like, what? I love it. That was insane.
Thank you, PJ. Thank you, everyone in the chat. You guys are amazing. You guys are our friends, and we don't agree on everything, but we're like passionate and nerdy about about our entertainment. And I just want to thank you guys on that level for being here. And you guys
it's
are
fun
great.
to talk about things. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
And now that being said, let's get to
Bonzo.
Let's get to this Bonzo. What do you know? What do you know, Bonzo?
So it's a terrific question, and here's my theory. And as I say, spoiler alert, I'm also can be an idiot, but here's my thought. If you look at the prequels, this show, and the original trilogy as part of a 3-act structure, there is even a thing called Save the Cat, which is a theory that a guy who was a screenwriter came up with, that there's a beginning act with certain things, the call to action and all these different things. The middle act is often both the fun and games, but the darkest point in a 3-act story. So the middle act being Kenobi, that would be where we see him at his nadir, at his lowest point, the most broken that he could be, or in fact broken at all. In the prequels, he is a fixed sort of character who is the goodness. He's learning, of course, himself, but he's not broken. By the very end of it, though, he's heading that way because they lose. Lucas took a real chance in taking us on a journey that was an epic space opera where the good guys didn't clearly win. The bad guys did. And on top of that, my dog agrees. On top of that, when we get into the Kenobi series, he's supposed to be broken in a way that he won't be at the end and he wouldn't be at the beginning. That is the darkest point. Act 2 is when your character hits rock bottom. They have to in order to ascend and become who he is in the original trilogy. If he is not broken the way he wasn't broken in the end series and the way he's not broken in the beginning, he has no arc. He doesn't adhere to a screenwriting convention that you use, that in Act 2 you have to be at your lowest point. So this was the lowest point we didn't see in his arc. We saw him in the original trilogy at the end of his life when he was calm again. He was a beacon. He embraced being a Jedi and he passed it on to someone else. In the prequels, he's not broken because he is the light. He's the one who's like, I can make a difference. I can fight evil. So I think that he wasn't broken in the 6 movies before this, and there's a reason. He's not supposed to be. He's supposed to be broken in the middle act, which is Kenobi, and that's why he's broken now. That's my theory.
Okay, my turn. Bonzo, what my take and Tom is is looking at Sir Alec Guinness's performance, when he is with Luke at his man cave, and the expressions he gives, the looks of defeat when talking about Darth, when talking about the past. In his eyes, if I don't see sadness, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know if that's broken. He's a much older man, and again, that's kind of different than how does he age that much? I mean, that's a whole nother argument. But I definitely see a window of opportunity to where you could tell this story. Absolutely. I didn't see a guy like da, 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 come on, let's go. I definitely saw that that heartache. Right? There was no there.
Mm-hmm.
He's an older guy. He's and maybe this adventure that we're currently seeing makes him a little more resolute in his older years. And what I gotta see though is I gotta see some. I did see a little bit of this of the positions of who's the master and who is the Padawan turn in this episode, and that is really needed, because that's where, you know, Darth says in New Hope, last time we met, I was but the learner. You know, now that's great. That's yeah, that's just my 2 cents. I enjoyed it. I'm enjoying it. I buy it. So, that's, what do you think, Tom?
And let me address one other thing. Everyone says, how did he age so much? Between Alec Guinness or Kenobi. Okay, Alec Guinness, when he was in A New Hope, was 58 years old. He was 58 as an actor, and Ewan McGregor's 51. So they only have 7 years of difference between them. So people in that generation aged differently. I mean, we had, not as good healthcare, all these different things. But to say, oh no, he's much older, actually, there's only 7 years of difference between their 2 ages in real life.
Yeah, and Rogue. Yeah, and Rogue, you are correct, but he obviously didn't do that, or if he did, he stopped that. He's not doing it. There was a disconnect, and maybe why he did that, we don't know, but maybe from what I'm getting is that he couldn't mess with the Force at all. He learned really quickly after Revenge of the Sith to protect Luke. He had to disconnect from the Force, and it really messed him up.
And he may not have looked as broken as you might think in there, but again, we did a retrospective on Revenge of the Sith. They lost. Everything that the hero should have accomplished, he didn't. So maybe it was a slow burn of like getting home and going, wow, I lost my brother. We lost the war. I'm in hiding. 10 years sitting alone in a cave, that's going to break you.
An awesome one with a great comment. Paulie, cut the onion so I can believe this review.
He's not Amber Heard. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tough crowd.
They're not that tough. they're a bunch of smarty pants. That's fine, guys. I appreciate the passion. This is just our opinions on stuff. So
it would be hard to justify if he had stayed the proactive Kenobi Bonzo and was a hardcore Jedi and would not turn his back on injustices. It would be very hard to believe that he sat as a hermit watching Luke, which is canon. So we'd have to reconcile that. I don't know what you'd have him do. Well, I really don't, because if he was a full hero, he wouldn't have sat for anything, and it wouldn't make any sense.
And again, I'm not here to argue that, because that argument is like they should just have never produced this. It's produced. Yeah. Here we are. It's made. We're reacting, reviewing this show in each episode. This, for me, this is a superior episode in a what was becoming an average show. So correct. I think there's hope. For it. It's this ending's got to really wow me.
They got to stick the landing.
Got to stick the landing. Troy Pacelli for $5. I appreciate being able to disagree and still be friends. It's a sign of class and character and honor.
Troy, you're
everyone
so
is capable.
Yeah, you're so right, Troy. I have so much respect for Troy. I really do.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And yeah, we've built the Latino slant to be able to be a place here where we can do that. My channel, and I got to do a review on. I'm going to be doing my reviews on Miss Marvel and Terror on the Prairie. I'm coming from my point of view of what I know about acting in film, and that's it, man. That's it. It's and I definitely don't try to disrespect. I don't disrespect them, but I think we have a very balanced and fair atmosphere here. So that being that, thank you for the chat, for the super chat. Here is some music for ya.
I love it.
Right down the street, Tom.
Right down
thank you
the
guys.
street.
Thank you guys. Yeah, right. Thank you guys for all the super chats. There is a membership. Yeah, there is a membership review we'll get to in a second. Okay. So, Tom.
Yes.
Obviously, we really love this episode. What does this show need to do to stick the landing for part 6?
It's got a lot of things it needs to do. It needs to resolve how protecting Luke fits into this story in a believable way. How do we set that so that we can go into A New Hope? It needs to resolve to the degree it can be resolved. It needs to resolve Vader's pursuit of Obi-Wan. We need to reset Leia. We need to have some sense that Kenobi is the man that we know him to be. And I feel like in the big arc, we need to find out, how does Reva fit into the rest now, knowing what we know about her? How does it continue? What goes on? How does that spin off? I feel like to stick the landing, it would have to not only do that, but pay off by having Kenobi finally commune with Qui-Gon at the end and say, you know what? I'm okay.
In the chat, what do you feel that needs to be, how do you feel the landing needs to be stuck? Are you agreeing with Tom? And let's get we got 35 votes. I'd say 65% are good to excellent. We got 26% horrible, 9% okay. All right. I think the Leia thing is gonna set. I think that's rounding out really nicely. I think the relationship between Anakin, Darth Vader and Obi-Wan is really turning the tables there. Reva this episode was her just storytelling wise was fantastic for her.
Yeah. Is she going after Luke?
Right. Or the rebellion, or which way is she gonna go?
Yeah.
Which way is she gonna go? Could she help be part of the rebellion?
She could be a protector, or she could be an assassin. Yeah.
I think Qui-Gon. Now,
I agree.
Isn't the Emperor supposed to make an appearance as well?
Yes.
I mean, Ian McDermott has been talking about this.
Yeah. And you know what? It would make perfect sense that Vader would have to go to him at some point, or that he would begin to take a unique interest in what's going on. So yeah.
Prediction for the ending, Charlie. Obi-Wan intercepts Reba, finds some good in her. That leads Obi-Wan to think there's good in Vader. Obi-Wan once thought as you do.
Could be. That's a possible arc.
That's season 2. Absolutely. Yeah, they are talking about a season 2.
Yeah, that could be an interesting arc. Absolutely.
And Jedi Dick Sensei.
Great name.
Great name. Great avatar. Looks like things are getting too spicy for the pepper.
With the pepper. I like that term. I'm going to steal that.
It's great. Qui-Gon will be in season 2. We call Taken the Leia.
I'm jealous. I love that.
Oh, awesome one.
It's
is
a very
funny.
special set of skills.
Yeah. Pierce Brosnan is here. It's good to have you.
Piers. That's great.
I think Vader wants Kenobi to join the dark side and fight against the Emperor. Ooh.
Interesting.
That's interesting. I don't know about
that.
That
Would
one.
be a weird
That
twist.
would be weird. That would, yeah. Orville Nation for $5. As someone who works with PTSD vets for the last 25 years, his level of brokenness makes absolutely no sense. Inexperienced writing. Ooh. PJ's not letting down on this.
You need to work with Obi-Wan. He needs sessions.
You need to give Obi-Wan some sessions, PJ.
Yeah, free sessions, absolutely. But your point's taken. If you have that experience, I can't presume to debate you. I can only go by my own reaction of it. But yeah, you're valid.
Well, PJ, thank you so much. I'm going to hold off.
PJ had a question for me earlier.
Yeah,
I think
we had that. I think we're almost ready to get there. I think there's great discussion in the chat.
Yes.
So we got 5 of the 6 now. How are you feeling about the show?
Well, it's been a bumpy ride, but I feel like it's like golf. That one good hit keeps you going, walking around the course for the rest of the time. So I feel like this one, they sunk the ball. I feel like I enjoyed it, which is what I'm watching this thing to do. I'm a Star Wars fan, and as a filmmaker, I saw craft in it. So overall, they keep pulling you back in.
Yeah.
I enjoyed this. I have mixed feelings about the show in general because I know what's possible with it. But I will not diminish the accomplishments of this simply because of disappointments in others. And really pleased to see Andrew Staunton writing this episode and the last one because noticeably the script was tighter.
Yeah, man. God. Steph Janishek has to go. Check out her channel.
Bye. Thank you for your comments.
Great opinions. Thanks for being here. I would love to see Raging Rhino join you guys for a review of the final episode. I don't know who that is.
I don't know him. From what show?
He's got his own channel.
Okay, I don't know.
Yeah, he's pretty bombastic. He's like Australian guy.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe Clay. I think I like what we have here.
I don't want to be yelled at for an hour.
Yeah, we don't want to be yelled. That's what. Anyways, much respect to Raging Rhino. You do you, Raging Rhino. Okay, let's bring up. We had 2 questions come at the same time. Troy Pacelli, member for 1 year, for 13 months. Wow, he's a Capitan here. You guys are awesome. PJ just beat me to the question. I wanted to ask by a minute anything to support Tom. Okay, and thank you for that membership. And let's get to that question. Try to find it. Basically, he says, "What are you up to?"
What am I up to?
Tom, what are you up to in your career, Tom?
I'm glad that you asked. In addition to, I'm auditioning for some things. I have a theatrical audition I need to do that's due on Friday. But as a filmmaker, I have some exciting new news. I am producing a couple of movies and directing a few. I'm producing a movie called My Time's Up, which is about cancel culture. It's got Emile Hirsch, Taryn Manning in it. Michael McRae is directing it. I'm one of the producers on it. Yeah. There was an article in Deadline about it recently. So we're going to film that more likely in Chicago in the fall. And then something I'm really excited about is something I've been developing for 2.5 years. It's called Island in the Stars. I just shot the first sizzle reel with Emily Coop and Vernon Wells, and it's an Australian film. I'm directing it. I co-wrote it with Michael J. Smith. We are talking to some amazing people. Callan McCullough from The Walking Dead wants to play one of the parts. We are approaching Sam Neill. to have a part in it. Hugo Weaving. We are also talking to trying to get Mel Gibson to have a cameo, which would be a reunion between Vernon Wells and Mel Gibson and Island in the Stars. We would love to have him be part of it. It's a big, ambitious, old-fashioned pulp science fiction adventure, which I want to see it. I mean, to me, that would be my Star Wars. It's a timeless story. Your grandma can see it, your kid can see it, and they'll appreciate different things. But for me, it's like a Jules Verne adventure mixed with steampunk and space opera. I'm working on that. And then the last thing I'm working on is Test Drive, which is a contained space thriller. It's about two guys that end up in a car that won't stop. And I want to direct that as soon as possible. The script is written. It's been winning some awards. It just got selected for Slam Dance. So I'm trying to get Test Drive off the ground as my smaller film and shooting my times up. And then hopefully I'll be directing Island in the Stars next year in Melbourne.
Jeez. Man, congratulations on all that.
Thank you. Yeah,
Here's
that's
the
what
Vernon Wells, Brittany Powell, In Trouble Is My Business link.
Oh, great. Yes, yes.
Yeah, you just put that up on Twitter.
It's on Twitter, yep.
Right, and there's a direct link.
Yeah, so thank you for asking, everybody. I will need your support, and I'm trying to make some good stuff, trying to do the best I can. I've learned so much from the previous feature that I did that I want to take that and just keep making movies that that I enjoy and that hopefully people agree with me.
So, I mean, all these things that you have been working on for years. Mm-hmm. The majority of the business is like that. It takes years for something to happen, and then sometimes something happens lickety split. Has that ever happened to you? Yeah,
sometimes it's weird. You'll be in a pitch and you'll think of an idea in the lobby. Like, oh, that'd be funny to have this thing. So you go in with the thing you worked on for a year and a half and prepared. You pitch it, and they're like, oh, that was good. Do you have anything else? And you mention the thing in the lobby. They're like, that's it. That's what we want. And you end up doing it. And I can't tell you how many times I've made money for somebody else with a project where I have my own stuff I'm trying to do, and then you end up, getting hired to do something else, and it's a success, and they do great, and you're like, okay, but I've been working for 3 years, and this guy thought of this, 6 months ago, and here, they're running with it and they're doing it. That's the frustration of the artist, is you cannot predict when something's going to go, and the degree to which you work on it has nothing to do with how quickly it's going to go. As you know, you can be working on something forever, it doesn't go. Another thing you can work on and it goes really quick. But then within the last week, I'll say, there's something in the universe. I had an investor come to me about Island in the Stars, about financing the whole thing. On the same day, I had an investor and distributor come to me for the other film. And I've been trying to get them for a year and a half, and it happened on the same day. So you can't predict it.
Couldn't happen to a nicer fella.
Oh, thank you.
I'm great. Trying. Very talented man. Very talented man.
Thank you.
This is not a kind business.
I'm learning.
It's ruthless. It's a long game. It's all that. And living with an actor, I know her day in, day out.
It's very hard. I used to do a lot of commercials, and that freed you up to be able to do things. But commercials dried up for me several years ago, the pandemic. And so that was a big hit. And I've been doing this. I've been struggling for 27 years. So I have to really love this to still be doing it, and I'm grateful for every little victory, every little show I got to do. I was the staff writer on a Warner show, did Be Cool Scooby-Doo, all that stuff. But it's a cruel mistress. It breaks your heart every day. But I would rather have a bad day doing this than a good day doing anything else.
You can't do anything else, man.
No, it's too late for me. I'm unemployable.
Yeah.
I love to do it. I love to edit. I love to direct. I love to act. I love to produce and stuff. When I'm doing it, I don't even notice. Like, I'll look up and 20 hours have gone by. It's like, oh, is that the sun? I've been up all night. So I know it's what I'm supposed to be doing. It's just most of your time is spent looking for money.
Mm.
The
Well,
reward is created.
my friend, I want to thank you for another great
Thank you.
show today. It's been, we're almost done.
Yeah,
And
it's been a pleasure.
depending on schedules, I want to invite you back for Andor with Diego Luna in a few
Yes.
months. But we'll
That
hopefully
looks
you'll
good.
be. Yeah, it looks really good. Looks really good.
Yeah.
But we'll be back next week with one more. And I think someone wanted us to do a retro review of Star Wars: New Hope.
Yes, which I think would be a lot of fun. Be a lot of fun. We should do it.
Yeah, especially after this.
Yeah.
You might be right.
We'll
I want to thank PJ Orville Nation for seemingly sponsoring the show today with all your super chats.
Yes, thank you.
That is amazing. That is super chats, guys. Whether it's through YouTube or our PayPal. Let me put that PayPal. If you'd rather PayPal me. They're also vital, Tom. I mean, they've literally have helped me pay my rent. I mean, it's no
That's
joke.
great. And you know what? I'm so grateful for the people in the chat. So grateful for anyone taking an interest in what you're doing and what I'm doing. It's so sweet to ask what I'm up to, because you put this stuff out there and you never know, does anyone care? Does anyone like it? Does anyone do? So it really feels validating when someone in the chat takes an interest in our show here and our opinions and all of that. So thank you, everybody that's out there.
Guys, make sure to follow Tom. It's in the video description. It's we have it in the chat as well. And if you're inclined and don't want to give YouTube any money, I understand. There is a PayPal link as well. We'll see you guys next week. If you are a member of the channel, you're going to see your name in the closing credits. Tom, anything else you want to say?
No, I just want to say that I'm grateful for you. I have so much respect for you and your talent and your insights, and I'm really, really happy to be here.
Well, have a great day, Tom. We'll check you out later. Everyone in the chat, be well.
All right, take care. Bye-bye. Force be with you.